Hi, I'm Alex Newman. I'm a foreign correspondent for the New American magazine, and I want to talk to you about some recent developments in the Czech Republic, where the government there, the interior minister, and apparently the president is on board, Miloš Zeman, are proposing to change the Czech constitution in a way that would allow citizens to fight back against terrorists and jihadists rampaging through Europe right now. And you know, they have good reason to be concerned. They've both talked in recent months about some of the terror attacks that have taken place in Western Europe. Most recently we had the attack on the Christmas market in Berlin, where the jihadist with the truck mowed people over at the Christmas market. Before that we had a jihadist with a truck in France who was mowing over people at a celebration there. We had jihadists running around Paris with illegal AK-47s, murdering disarmed and helpless victims. I think there was 500 casualties in that attack, and before that jihadists had massacred a bunch of rather vile so-called cartoonists and journalists at a magazine there that apparently had been making fun of Islam. So Czech politicians, including actually a lot of former communists, and you always got to be skeptical with former communists, but Miloš Zeman, the president of the Czech Republic, has warned that these jihadists who have been flooding into Europe over the last few years, just literally millions and millions of third world Islamic immigrants coming into Western Europe as part of what the politicians are calling a refugee crisis. So the president of the Czech Republic warned that some of these guys must be plotting a what he called a super Holocaust against Europeans. He said that they were plotting to kill large numbers of Europeans, which may very well be true. You know, at this point everybody knows that ISIS fighters and Al-Qaeda fighters and jihadists of various varieties have slipped into Europe posing as refugees and so on and so forth. So you know, there's no debate about that. They've struck a number of times already. And there's no question that they would like to strike in the future. And so what the Czech officials are proposing is to change the Czech constitution to incorporate an amendment there that would authorize Czech citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves, which they already have the right to do, themselves and their property, in addition to in defense of the state. Now, a lot of American states actually have this enshrined in their constitutions. If you look at our Second Amendment, we have the right to keep and bear arms, and actually the founders thought this was so important they said it was necessary for the security of a free state. And then a lot of our constitutions say that people have the right to bear arms in defense of themselves and their property and the state. And so that's basically what these Czech politicians want to do. They want to expand the protections for the right to keep and bear arms, adding defense of the state as well. Because the idea is, if you know, if a jihadist is rampaging through the city slaughtering people, right now if you're not directly threatened, you're not authorized to use a firearm in defense of the state to fight back against this terrorist. But with this change, citizens would be able to pull out their pistols and take aim and fire at the jihadists, you know, no matter what they're doing, whether they're driving a truck over pedestrians or you know, shooting people with an AK-47, doesn't matter. So on the surface, that sounds like a wonderful idea. The Czech Republic already has some loose gun laws by European standards. I mean, it's certainly no gun rights utopia. You know, it's not Alaska, it's not Vermont, it's not Wyoming, it's not one of the constitutional carry states in the United States where you don't need to ask permission of anyone to exercise your rights. But you know, by European standards, where you know, massive segments of the population have been forcibly disarmed by their governments, the Czech laws are pretty lax. You can get a gun if you apply for a permit. It's a shall issue, and that allows you to protect yourself and your family and your property as long as your response is proportional to the threat you're facing. So you know, if somebody breaks into your house and want to kill you, well, you have the legal authority to use deadly force in retaliation. But under this new program, there are some concerns, because one of the things that happened recently, ironically enough, after jihadists went on a rampage and slaughtered European victims who were deliberately left by their government, forcibly disarmed by the politicians, the EU, which you know, has really no legitimate authority over firearms, responded by passing even more gun control. And actually the gun control that the EU adopted by you know, executive fiat through the EU Commission and then rubber stamped by the Euro Parliament it's actually much stricter than the existing laws in the Czech Republic. The Czechs went through some horrible things. They went through Nazi occupation, they went through communism, so a lot of them have a good understanding of the dangers of leaving the citizenry disarmed, not just from jihadists, but from tyrants as well. And so, they had pretty lax laws. The EU has now come in and said, nope, those laws aren't going to work. You need to start banning a lot of firearms that are already in common circulation in the Czech Republic, certain semi-automatic firearms that, a lot of people have, private gun owners. The EU wants to get rid of those. And so the Czech government fought against this at the EU level, but they lost. And so now they're expected to impose some of these gun control measures domestically, and that's going to meet a lot of resistance from the citizenry. Again, a lot of these guys still remember living under the brutal communist tyranny of their former oppressors. And so, that's going to be a hard sell. And so some speculation has come out suggesting that they might try to use this expansion of gun rights, allowing citizens to defend the state as well as themselves with their firearms, as a ruse to sneak in some of this EU-mandated illegal gun control. So a lot going on in the Czech Republic. The sentiment is certainly interesting. Obviously, the president said that just expanding gun rights is not going to cut it in terms of solving this problem with the jihad threat facing Europe. He's suggested that all of the Muslim migrants who have arrived in Europe the last few years, that they need to be sent home as soon as possible. And in the meantime, he actually proposed putting them on a deserted island until they can make arrangements for them to get sent back to their own countries. He worries about the terrorism. He worries about the fact that they have not been integrating. They've been forming these so-called no-go zones, ghetto areas where even a lot of cases the police are scared to go in. They have to go in with 2 or 3 cars because they'll get pelted with fireworks and rocks and who knows what else. Eastern Europe has really put up a lot more resistance to this tsunami of immigration, which of course was engineered by the globalist establishment. They've been pretty open, the globalist establishment, about the purpose here. They want to undermine the nation state and expand government, and some of the Eastern Europeans have called foul. The Prime Minister of Hungary, for example, Viktor Orban, said that this was a plot by what he called a treasonous conspiracy of, he called them internationalist fanatics in Brussels, the de facto capital of the European Union, to undermine Western civilization, Christianity, and of course the nation state on the road to this new world order of totalitarianism and global government. So it seems like a lot of people in Eastern Europe are catching on. But there's always that element there, the former communists, that people need to be weary of what's going on. So expanding gun rights, always a good thing, whether that's in the Czech Republic or the United States, but always something to be cautious about there. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to next time.